So you want to be a nurse? Let's talk about this. Hello, my name is Ray, and I am an RN, otherwise known as a registered nurse. I've been an RN for 14 years. Oh my goodness, it's been that long. I've been in healthcare for 23 years. I started healthcare in patient accounts, and I worked like 4 10-hour shifts. But even before then, when I went to college the first time, I was a chemistry major because I wanted to be an anesthesiologist. I was going to go to medical school, but child, I did a little bit too much partying and not taking school serious. So I ended up leaving my junior year. I stopped going to school my junior year. So in the meantime, I was working in a different area, and I had all of these credits, and I was trying to figure out, and then I started paying student loans, and I'm like, I'm paying these student loans and I don't have a college degree. So I looked at my credits. Like I said, I was a chemistry major, and believe it or not, actually, before I left school, I had brought my grades up significantly, but I just didn't want to do that. So I was trying to think, what could I do with all of these credits? Like, what would those credits transfer into? I looked and I saw nursing. I knew I wasn't going to try to become a doctor at that point, but I wanted to do something different in healthcare. So my chemistry credits transferred into nursing because I had chemistry, biology, and all that. And a lot of the math courses, I had to take calculus and all that. So all that transferred into nursing. So I still had prereqs to take. Like, I had to take anatomy and physiology and microbiology. When I went back to school, those are the first classes I took. And I was working full time. I don't recommend you guys do that. But I did receive A's in all those classes. Like, I had to take anatomy 1 and 2 and microbiology. But I had no life. Okay, no life. Like, I didn't have to take all the English classes. I think I took college algebra, even though I took calculus. I took college algebra because something with the credits. But anyway, so I ended up taking college algebra. I did have to take some psychology classes like human growth and development. I took sociology also. I didn't have too many prerequisites to take because, like I said, my chemistry major, a lot of those classes correlated into the prereqs for nursing. I took like 2 classes at a time because, like I said, I was working full time and I had classes on the evenings and weekends. So the school I started at was a 4-year college. I finished my prereqs and I started taking like the first nursing classes the first nursing classes. In that class, you learned, it was like, introductory. It wasn't an intro class. It was like, I don't remember the name of the class, but that's when I first started having clinicals, like really getting into the nitty gritty of nursing. And I'll never forget my first clinical I had. We had a patient who couldn't get out of the bed. I had no clue how to take care of this man and get him cleaned up because we kind of talked about it in like my first couple of classes in nursing school, but I didn't know what to do because, like I said, I did work in healthcare, but I was in patient accounts. So I was hands off. I was doing billing and all that stuff. So I understood billing, but I did not have any patient care experience. Not that that is a requirement for nursing school, but trust me, it helps, especially with clinicals. I decided that I wanted to become a patient care technician, so I transferred with my job to another hospital to become a patient care technician. So I was doing that, and the hours actually worked better for me. They were 3/12s, and I was working 4/10, so I had a couple more days off, so I could kind of take more classes. And I fell in love again. One of my exes from high school came back into my life. So child, I got focused on him. My grades didn't suffer though. They did not suffer. As a matter of fact, I took him, he was like my test subject when I had to do like a physical assessment. I brought him in as my physical assessment person. But I just got distracted and stuff. And then I ended up taking that next semester after I started my nursing, like my actual nursing classes off. And anyway, it was a toxic relationship. I broke up with him, and then I was deciding, do I really want to do nursing? I thought about it. I took that next semester off, but I ended up taking like a year and a half off because I was kind of reevaluating everything. I was working as a patient care technician, and I was, right beside the nurses, and I'm like, do I really want to do that for the rest of my life? I don't know. So I was thinking about going to law school. I started studying for the LSAT and everything. Did I take the LSAT? I took the LSAT. I did very well. But then I was looking at the time it takes to become a lawyer and the amount of money it takes to become a lawyer. And I said, girl, just finish nursing school. So what I ended up doing, I ended up transferring from the school that I was at. The school that I started at was a 4-year program. So I ended up transferring into another school that had a 2-year program. And I got right into the program because I had all my prereqs done. I had already started some of the nursing classes. So I got in there and I was doing very well. I had no life, guys, no life at all in nursing school. None. Okay. People were talking about new shows on television, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what is that? I've never heard of that. And my television was collecting dust when I was in nursing school. I didn't have time to do all that. Started at the 2-year school, had my clinicals and stuff. So I was working 3 days a week. The other days I was going to school and having clinicals. So for that program too, it was cool because I had clinicals on the weekends. So I still had clinicals evening weekends. So that still kind of worked for me. I took a class. I can't even remember what class it was. Maybe it was like my second med surg class or something. And we had a new professor that started at the school. That class had maybe 60 students in it. Towards the end of the class, we were down to maybe 35. Let's just say only 8 people ended up passing the class, and I was not one of the 8 people. So I was very, very upset because, I had always received pretty good grades, except for my first couple of years when I was a chemistry major and I was partying, I was on my own. But in nursing school, I had good grades. And so I failed that class, and then I reevaluated again. I'm like, do I really want to do this? So I kept thinking, okay, do I want to go to finish nursing, or do I want law school? I kept thinking about the money. Maybe there's scholarships out there, but the law schools that were in the area where I lived were super expensive, like more so than other law schools. So I was looking at that and I said, no, it's just too expensive. And I really didn't want to take out all those student loans. What ended up happening, since only, I think, what did I say, like 7 people passed the class, the dean of our nursing school ended up teaching the class the next semester. And even though that failed, it did count on my record, but I was able to take that class. So actually, the next semester, a bunch of us that were in the class, even like more than 30. Like I said, it was 60, then it went down to 35. So it was maybe, I want to say maybe like 50 students, because some of the students, that was like their second fail, so they were kicked out of the program. So anyway, I ended up repeating that class the next semester. Oh my gosh, the dean of our nursing school, she was an excellent teacher. I learned so much from her. Did well in that class, continued on. I'll never forget when I took my maternity nursing class. That class, it weeded out a lot of my classmates too. I felt really bad. I did well in the class, but several of my classmates that I had made friends with, they didn't pass the class, and I felt really bad. And I'll never forget one of my classmates. She was typing up all the notes that the professor was telling us, and she was like typing it up for everyone and giving everyone the notes and all that. And I'm like, why are you doing this? She said, oh, I'm trying to help everyone. No offense, but we don't need your help. I said, all that time you're taking to type up notes to give to all your classmates, I said, that's time that you need to study. She ended up not passing the class. I felt really bad. But she was like, I think she was like a stockbroker. She was something in finance. So she had a good job. She just didn't like it. She always wanted to be a nurse. I don't know what I wish I would have kept up with her to see what she ended up doing. But anyway, I got down to my second to last semester. I had another class, another new professor that came in, took the class. I can't even remember what class, maybe like Med Surg 3 or something. It was when we were getting into cardiac and lung and all that. That class was very hard. So I wasn't doing well in that class. So what I ended up doing, I dropped the class because I knew I wasn't going to pass it. And if I had another fail, I was out of the nursing program. So I dropped that class, and unfortunately, they did push me back a semester. So I dropped that class, and then I took it again with another professor who had been there for a long time. In nursing school, guys, like the grading scale is not like normal college. In my school, you had to have, I want to say it was an 80% or above to pass. If you had anything below an 80%, you failed. Whereas in traditional college, that's like a C, But yeah, nursing school, no, you had to have an 80% or above. So I was like at a 78 or 79. I'm like, Lord have mercy. I came this far and I'm getting ready to flunk out of nursing school. Oh my goodness. So what I did was really, really double down. I mean, I was studying a lot anyway, but what I ended up doing, I stopped working as a patient care tech. I had met someone else. I was dating someone else. He helped me financially, so I was able to just concentrate on school. He paid my bills and everything. Thank you for doing that. That was a blessing, guys. But anyway, we ended up breaking up anyway. That was a blessing, but we ended up breaking up after I graduated from nursing school. But anyway, that's a story for another day. I'm going to do a video on relationships in nursing school. Child, because I've heard some stories and I know things that have happened to me. So anyway, so I wasn't working. And so I spent every waking hour studying for this class. Like, I would read my med surg books, but I would kind of skim and like take things that I would, thought was relevant. And I did okay. That's how I always studied. But for this, I read those chapters. I told myself I'm going to read each chapter 3 times, take notes. And I had a Saunders supplement book, like the NCLEX book. I studied out of that. I didn't, like a lot of my classmates, they had like group study. I never did well in group study because I get distracted. No. So I didn't participate in that. I'm an early riser by nature. I wake up early. On my off day, well, I wasn't working, but the days I didn't have school, I would get up 4 or 5 o'clock and I'd study. I'd study all day, guys. That's all I did. School, clinical, study. School, clinical, study. Like I said, thank God for my boyfriend at the time. He really made it possible for me to become a nurse. So those last 2 semesters. So I was like at a 70. I think I said I was at a 78 in the class. So by me quitting my job, studying like that, I brought that 78 up to a 99%. On my final in that class, which was considered one of the hardest classes in nursing school, did I get 100 on the exam? I think maybe I missed 2 questions for the final in that class. And my professor was so proud of me. And she told me after the class was over, she told me to sit and wait for her. And so I did, and I was sitting there studying because I had another exam in another class. So I was sitting there studying and stuff. And she came up to me and she just gave me the biggest hug. And she said, she really encouraged me. She said, she said, I knew you could do it. She said, I knew you could do it. And she gave me a hug and a lot of encouraging words. So I really appreciate her for that. She retired though, but she was, yeah, I really needed that. So my last semester in nursing school, it was more like, kind of like prep for NCLEX. And I had a couple of classes. I didn't have any like theory classes. I can't even remember what those classes were, but they were pretty easy. So I ended up getting A's in those classes, but I still studied like I was studying before for my, that one hard med surg class. So I did very well. NCLEX. So to get into nursing school, you have to take an entrance exam, and you pass the entrance exam and you have all your prereqs done. You get into the program. So I did well on my entrance exam. And then for my school, child, they had one exit exam that was pretty good. And then they changed to this other crazy nursing exit exam. Oh my gosh. I can't even remember the name of it, but it was horrible. I did not do well on that exam. I don't know what it was. They were talking gibberish. I'm like, what in the world are they talking about? I don't remember learning that stuff. I didn't do well on that exam. So my school, actually, they were worried about me passing NCLEX. I'm like, I know I can pass NCLEX, but that exam you all switched to, that exit exam, it's trash. I can't remember the name of it. Even if I did, I wouldn't say, because I'm sure it's still around, but no. So I said, forget this. I'm like, I'm passing my NCLEX. I'm not going to have any issues passing, because I did well in school for the most part. I know my stuff. Okay. So what I ended up doing is, since I had to take an extra semester, like I should have graduated in May of that year, since I had to since I dropped that class and had to take it again, I took it during the summer, but I ended up graduating in December instead of May. I was working as a graduate nurse on an oncology floor at a very large teaching hospital. Learned so much there. But anyway, so I was studying for my NCLEX, just kind of studying on my own. And then I said, well, you know what, just to be on the safe side, let me take a NCLEX prep course. So I was researching, and then, so the way my semester ended, I ended up finishing, I'm sorry, let me rephrase this. I ended up finishing my class in October, because it wasn't like my last classes, so they weren't like a full 16 weeks. They were like 8-week courses. So I ended up finishing in October. So several of my classmates started taking the NCLEX, and some of them didn't do well. Some of them didn't pass NCLEX, unfortunately. So I said, well, to be on the safe side, let me take a NCLEX prep course. So I asked them what course they took, and they told me it's a well-known course. I said, well, maybe I shouldn't take that course. Maybe I should take another course. So I researched and I found Hearst Review. So I said, okay, this seems to have good reviews, and I took it. And I liked it. I learned, not that I learned anything new. I just learned a different way to think about things. So I took that, and then I scheduled myself to take the NCLEX. I don't know what happened. I was working night shift. That's a video for another time too. New grads and night shift. I'll get there, guys. I'm going to do a whole separate video about new grad shifts and all that. Anyways, I was working night shift. I must have been tired or something. So I was doing the Hearst Review. Instead of me signing up for NCLEX, let's say it was January. Let's say I wanted to sign up for NCLEX January 30th. I ended up signing up for NCLEX January 3rd. So I was freaking out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what in the world? So I tried to change the date. They wouldn't let me change the date. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I couldn't get my money back, because my boyfriend at the time had given me money for to pay for my license, to pay for NCLEX. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to ask him again to pay for this. And it wasn't cheap, but I mean, he had it, but I just felt bad. Like, oops, I made a mistake and booked the wrong date. Now you have to give me a couple, I think it was maybe $300 or something like that. It wasn't cheap. So I said, you know what? I said, let me go ahead and do this. I was off. So I think maybe I had a week to prepare versus like another month the way I did it. I had 4 days off in a row. So I took those 4 days and I did the whole Hearst Review study course. And then on the day, like I was studying up into that night before NCLEX with the Hearst Review. Took my NCLEX. So when you go there, and like I said, guys, I'm going to do videos on all the processes, like taking NCLEX, working as a new grad shifts. I'm going to do videos for all that. When I went to NCLEX, so you have to bring like ID and stuff, and you have to do background check. I'm going to talk about background and making sure your background is what it needs to be to take the NCLEX. Like I said, I'll do a separate video on that. So my background was okay, but you had to take an ID and all that. And so I was there and I was like hyped up on coffee, like, oh, sorry to use the bathroom. So yeah, when you're taking the test, it stops. Like you have to raise your hand or press I don't know. I think I had to raise my hand. The person came over and I said, I have to use the bathroom. It's okay. So you check out and like you have nothing on you. Maybe maybe 2 pencils that they give you and some scratch paper, because you have to do math on your NCLEX. Like you have to do drug calculations. They looked at my paper and make sure, whatever. And the pencils, they took the pencils, and then I had to like check out. I had to go to my locker to get my ID, take my ID with me, use the bathroom, check back in with my ID, and then continue with my test. I was there for an hour and a half, and then it cut off at, it's been so long. It cut off at 75 questions. And I was nervous. I'm like, oh man, that was kind of fast. Huh? I said, people take NCLEX this fast? I said, well, I think I did okay. And in the back of your head, you still kind of doubt yourself because it's such a big ordeal. I had a feeling when I left that I passed. I felt confident, but then I started thinking about my classmates that didn't pass, and then me failing that exit NCLEX exam with school. And so the doubt started kicking in. I took NCLEX, I think it was like a Friday, and I received my results 2 days later. So like at the exact time that I took NCLEX, 2 days later, my results were there. So I looked on my state board of nursing and I typed my name in, and there was my license number. So I passed my NCLEX. I was so excited. And I had to, so I emailed my school. Well, I think they got the results too, but I emailed my school Monday and said I passed. And, so yeah, I was working. My coworkers congratulated me. We had like a little party, like a little party on night shift. We ordered pizza. So to celebrate me passing NCLEX. So I was officially an RN. So I worked in oncology for a while, and then I liked oncology. It was kind of sad. Did not like working 3 12-hour shifts at night. I really wanted to switch to day shift. So I switched to day shift because at my job, I had worked there for a while. So I had seniority because I had worked there for several years. So I was able to get a day shift position, even though like some people on night shift had been nurses longer than me, but I had worked there longer. So I got a day. Oh, what a big difference. Now I had worked night shift for basically, when I started doing patient care, I worked night shift for the most part. When I went to day shift, oh my God, it was so busy. Like I said, this was a large teaching hospital. It was so busy. And I knew I didn't want to go back on night shift. So I sucked it up. And in the meantime, I had planned on leaving the state that I was in. I was going to move to Atlanta. So I was working on getting my Georgia nursing license. And then my mom lost her job. So I ended up staying where I was at, and I bought a house in the area. And so I needed money for the down payment. So I was working like a whole bunch of overtime for a down payment on a house. And in hindsight, I should have gotten a cheaper house, but I wanted this big, beautiful, pretty house, and kind of house poor. I'm going to keep it real. I was house poor with that house. Beautiful house. Some rooms have furniture, some didn't. So I couldn't keep up working like that, guys. It was a lot. So I had my big, pretty house, and I didn't like working 312s. And then I was working more than that. I burned myself out trying to get this house. I did. I was working, and I just I didn't like it. So what I did was I ended up going to the float pool in the hospital. So I floated to different areas. But the thing I liked about float pool, I made my own schedule and I got paid more. But, I would go to different floors. But it was a blessing in disguise because I gained a lot of experience. So I worked everywhere except for the OR, labor, and delivery. Worked the ER, ICU, all the med surg floors. I even worked mom and baby. Mom and baby wasn't bad, but it was kind of a lot because like you had the mom and the baby. So really, they say the mom is a patient. No, it's two patients, girl. It's two. You got the mama and the baby. You have to do assessments on the mother and the baby. So it's like, no. So you may have 4 patients, but you technically have 8 because you have the mother and the baby. And don't let the mom have twins. That's the mama and 2 babies. Oh. I hope they change that. I got tired of the area that I lived in. I wanted to move somewhere warm. So I ended up leaving the area that I was in and moved to a different state. Where I moved to, it was warm. It was warm there. It was pretty, but being a nurse there was so tough. Oh my gosh. I thought it was bad where I used to work. It was way worse. Way, way worse. So I was a float nurse there too for a while. Well, I'll take that back. So when I first started working there, I was in management. I didn't like that. I didn't like the healthcare system I worked for. I had no idea what they were until I got there. I'm like, oh, no. Because I came from a large teaching hospital. That's where my experience was. So I worked for a for-profit hospital system. I didn't like that. So I quickly left there and I went to another nonprofit healthcare system in the area, which was a lot better, a float job. And I floated around to different hospitals. I made more money, but it was kind of like a travel nurse position, like an internal travel nurse position. Oh, they would give me the worst assignments. And I'm like, guys, I work for this hospital system. Why are you giving me these? It was horrible, horrible. Oh my gosh. Some hospitals were nice and would give us, it was like a group of us. They would give us, pretty decent assignments, but other hospitals where I knew where I had to go work the next day, I just knew it was going to be a horrible shift. I don't know if I manifested that. I believe in manifesting. But at that time, I didn't know about conscious manifesting. I probably manifested that. So I would just say, oh no, I'm going to this hospital and they're going to give me the worst assignments. And it always happened. I wish I would have known about manifesting back then. But anyway, so it got to the point, guys, where I did not like being a nurse. I said, I can't do this for the rest of my life. So I ended up going back to school. So when I graduated nursing school, I had associates in nursing, associate of science in nursing. So when I moved out of state, I was working on my bachelor's of science in nursing. So I had my bachelor's in nursing and I was trying to figure out what I could do with that. And I was just so burnt out and just so traumatized by being like a travel nurse, an in-house travel nurse. I wanted to leave nursing. So I ended up going back to school for my master's in business administration. So I have an associate of science in nursing, a bachelor's of science in nursing, and I have a master's in business administration. that master's degree, woo, it was kind of hard because I never had accounting. I never had finance. I never had econ. I didn't have any of those classes because, like I said, I was a chemistry major in a nursing, and we didn't have those classes. So to take that at a master's level, it kicked my butt. But I graduated. So I have an MBA. While I was in school for my MBA, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with nursing. I really wanted to leave nursing. That's why I was in school to get my MBA. And then I discovered an area of nursing that I said, okay, I could do that. I had a contract in the ER. They used to float me to the ER a lot. I always kept my ACLS and tele and all that. So they floated me to the ER. The ER wasn't bad. It was better than being on the med surg floors to me, but it was still tough because that particular contract was at a very, 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 very busy hospital. City hospital. Was that a teaching? Yeah, that was a teaching hospital too. So it was like that. I was like running all day, and I'm pretty laid back and chill. So I was always like hyped up, like, oh, what's going to come in next? But then like I would feel hyped up, but then I'd have like a calm demeanor and I'd be calm. Even when someone was coming in coding, I was like the calming force to everyone. And we do what we have to do and, save the patient. Sometimes they didn't make it. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. Just everyone just calm down. Let's do what we need to do to save this patient. I still didn't like it though. I still didn't like doing direct patient care. At this time, I had been doing it for 9 years, and I knew that I had to get away from the bedside. So what happened was my contract was ending in the ER, and I'm just like, oh, what am I going to do again? So there was another hospital that needed help in their ER, and it was the hospital that I would go to on the med surg floors, and they give me the crappiest, most horrible assignments, and I knew I didn't want to go there. And so I said, I like the flexibility of being like a travel nurse, but I'm tired of these crappy assignments. I said there has to be an area in nursing that I could do while I finish my MBA. So I stumbled upon case management. I think what happened was I was watching a YouTube video and someone was talking about the different areas of nursing. And of course I had interacted with case managers, but I knew what they did, but not really. So what I did was I shadowed, I was still in the ER contract, but I shadowed one of the case managers up on the floor. And I said, I could do this. I shadowed the case manager. I had my BSN, but at that hospital system, that wasn't a requirement. So I looked on the job site and they had a float case manager position. I said, oh, that would be perfect. So I applied for that and I got it. So I became a floating case manager and I really, really liked it. And that's still what I do today. I'm not a float nurse anymore. I don't float. I work at one hospital and I work part-time. Like I work just enough to have medical insurance and to pay my bills. And I have other streams of income. Like I have 3 other YouTube channels. One is monetized. And then I have a blog, businesses, website. I did Etsy, do Amazon. So I have income coming in from all different sources. So I'm using my nursing degree and I'm using my master's degree in business too. So yeah, so that's my nursing story. So on this channel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about different things in nursing, of course. If you guys have questions, write them in the comments and I'll make a video about it and try to answer your questions. And then I'll just like break things down, just talking about different areas of nursing, what you can do with your nursing degree. You don't have to just do med surg. There's all other types of areas of nursing that you can do. You don't have to be pigeonholed into one area. I might talk about a little nursing theory. So we'll see. I'm excited about this channel. This is my 4th YouTube channel, but I figured I have 23 years of experience and my other YouTube channels are not about healthcare. So I said, I have a lot to talk about with nursing. I have a lot of knowledge. I have a lot of things I can help people with. So why not do a nursing channel? So here we are. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'm really excited about this channel. Like I said, if you guys have questions, topics you want me to talk about, just put them in the comments and I'll address it. Thanks for watching.